whenever you want to get started.
Okay, great. So welcome. I'm Jen Aly. I'm delighted to be here. And I would love to hear where everybody is. We have 13 people who are here so far, and we've had 79 people register. So some of you will be watching this later on. And go ahead and type in, for those of you who are here, go ahead and type in where you are, where are you located. So I'm in Asheville, North Carolina. Alejandra, I don't even know where you are. Are you in Texas?
Oh, I'm signed in under Gwen's account. So I'm not Gwen. Gwen is the executive director, but I'm Alejandra. I've been working with SNAG for almost 2 years, and I'm directly involved with all the conference and educational initiatives with SNAG. And
Great.
I'm based in El Paso, Texas.
Great, perfect. So we have Tennessee, Kailua, Hawaii, Ohio, New York City, Williamston, Ridgeway, Colorado. Great. So people all over the place. Awesome. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and dive in here. Alejandra, can you hear me okay? Because it's acting like you're the speaker and I hit speaker view and it's still putting you as speaker.
I can hear you perfectly fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure that the view is going to be okay for the video. Because when I hit speaker view, you pop up, not me. Even though I'm speaking. Oh, there we go. It shifted. Okay. Okay, great. So welcome. Okay, so I'm Jen Aly. I'm excited to be here. I've been connected to SNAG for a while. Gwen actually the director lives in Asheville, which is where I live. And so today I'm excited because this workshop is something I've been teaching for about a year now to all kinds of creatives virtually, and insights, perspective, and inspiration around money and business. And you'll be inspired to take action from a new empowering mindset after experiencing a shift with money and business. So if you're ready before I dive into like where I'm coming from in my story. So if you, how many years have you been in business? I'm gonna write this question in the chat, and I want to get a sense of how many of you are new, how many of you have been in business for a while, just so I know kind of where we're going here. So first year for new staff. Great. New, so carrier. So some people have been, 38 years. So Paul's been doing it for 38 years. Kate, since 2010. Ellen, 5 years. And Jen, 25 years. Okay, great. So we have a huge range of experience. Another for 1 year. Great. It's really helpful for me to get a sense of where you all are now. And just to give you a sense of how this is going to work today, so I'm going to do an hour-ish long workshop, the Money Mindset Makeover workshop, and then we're going to take a short break, and then we're going to do Q&A and some coaching. So for those of you who want to get some live coaching and you have questions or ideas you want to throw out, we'll do that in the last half. So I'm excited to have the extra time to be with you all today and to connect and to share all this content. So let me get started. All right, so let me share my screen. Give me 1 second. Excuse me. All right. So, okay, so there's there's a
So Jen, can you hear me? The audio is breaking up again.
Natural thing that happens. What do you suggest I do?
There's nothing much like we can do on our end if it's your internet. I mean,
So I can disconnect and unplug and plug it back in again and come back. That's all I know to do. Because it
um,
usually is fine. I have good Wi-Fi, so it must be.
it's yeah, no, it's fine on for me too. We can carry on just so you know that I mean it breaks up in some moments and then it's fine right now, so you can carry on.
Okay. Yeah, we'll just hope it connects and sticks. So, all right. Okay. So what we're doing is looking at the limiting beliefs around money and some big money mindset shifts, along with looking at business and from a different perspective than typical. I believe that the most important thing about business is the vision that you have and that calling from your heart, and then stepping into commitment and support are huge ingredients that can make it happen. So I acknowledge you all for your commitment today. The workshop. Here's some testimonials from people that they gained up for herself and her work. And then Sarah had a newly energized passion for her business and felt focused on making more money and left with tools, insights, and motivation and a new outlook on finances. And someone recently in a workshop said that she didn't believe it was possible to see money differently, but then she believes she can change her relationship with it right after this workshop. So I hope you all get this and more out of this experience. So, all right. So I'm going to give you a story and have you get to see this gorgeous piece of labradorite, which is going to be part of the story in just a second. So my background is that I'm also a jewelry designer in addition to being a coach. And I'm going to give you sort of like where I'm coming from and how I came to this work. So when I was a kid, I hated math, basically. And it was my hardest subject. And I was really a good student in other ways and identified that way as a child. And so I had never faced the idea that I wasn't good at math. And so I had a psychological block regarding math and math classes and dealing with it, and that leaked over into my money world. And this really showed up decades after school when I was in California and I had a business and I wasn't doing what I needed with my numbers. And so I ended up just doing the bare minimum at the very last minute to file taxes. And this is not something I recommend. I went into significant debt as a result of this. And this led to months of being collected by collections agencies, being contacted by them. And I hit this rock bottom moment when I found myself cooking the very last food in which I'd realized I'd had for 5 years. And no matter how long I cooked those freaking beans, they never softened. And so my only chance for a meal at that point was an edible. So this was a low point for me, as you might imagine. And I'd run out of food, money, and options. So I took the jewelry I had inherited from my grandmother years before, and I pawned it to pay my rent. And then I got a job and I filed bankruptcy eventually. So that was a bottom in California. And then years later, University of Hawaii in Maui. And on Sunday afternoons, I would go to this cafe along the coast to grade papers. And I was kind of bribing myself to grade, hundreds of pages of papers. And I would reward myself after grading papers at a bead store next door to the cafe. And I had barely played with jewelry before, playing with it, making it. But I love gemstones, and I started collecting beads. And like labradorite is one of my favorites still. So this love affair with gemstones came alive here, and I started doing every Sunday, grading papers, collecting beads afterwards. And when I was teaching, even though I was in a creative field, I found that no matter how much I emphasized the creative process and self-expression, students still focused on the grade. So eventually I burned out from teaching, and I moved to Asheville. I collected more, and I was expressing my creativity fully free to express my creativity without being graded. And so I had this fear chasing me that my creativity was going to run out. And so I kept on writing, jewelry that I wanted to make and figuring out how to make it along the way, as y'all can imagine. And so I taught myself how to hammer. I did wire wrapping, and I've learned quite a few things since then. So eventually I started the business, dug into that, kept going. And this is a picture of me in my studio, and it's in a storefront right outside Asheville. And this is a piece that I made that's sort of one of my statement pieces here. So over the last 7 years, I've made thousands of pieces of jewelry with help. And I more than tripled my income in 3 years. So I asked myself what was different this time. I realized that my first business, I had been viewing numbers and business as if it was part of the system. And my ego thought I was being productive by rebelling against the system. But in reality, I was sabotaging myself, my potential, and my contribution, and my income, obviously. And eventually, I realized that I was taking myself out of the game by sabotaging myself like this. This time in my business, I also had a clear vision to empower women to express themselves fully through jewelry with intention. And my own vision for my life was to step out of education for good, to get paid to express my creativity, and to hire other creatives to work with me. So these motivations and the willingness to learn from my past mistakes helped me get out of my own way and step outside of my comfort zone. Another part of that process was taming the voices in my head that I had just these voices that I had in my head from social programming. So one was that money was evil and it was hard to deal with. So the idea, that's a really common idea, that money is evil, because we see people who do greedy things with money. And then another one is that marketing is manipulative, sales is sleazy, and business is greedy. So these are the voices in my head that I had to have a new relationship with. And so these are the things that, I was sort of programmed culturally, and as a creative and as a, liberal arts major, I did not relate to these things. They weren't me. I didn't identify with them. And so these judgments I had were only fear, though, because I was afraid of being greedy or feeling stupid or being a jerk salesperson. Ultimately, I was afraid of failure and success. The idea of traditional business was goal setting, linear planning, strategies, spreadsheets, a bunch of stuff I didn't relate to or didn't feel confident in. So I realized that as a coach, I had learned to leverage my strengths to bolster my weaknesses. So I wondered if I could create a process into business. And so let's look at this possibility. So this idea of having, sorry, making sure this little screen thing's not, okay, sorry. So basically with business as a creative process, with business, you have what you have along the creative process. So first you have a vision, and then you have gestation of that vision, and then planning, and then you're in the uncertainty. And then you start creating and you learn as you go, and you're also in uncertainty still. And then you evolve it, and then eventually you have an impact once it goes outside yourself, and eventually it grows beyond you. So instead of your metal and your hammer or a canvas and paint with a creative process, you have business. So when you just have production, and sales to create this process as a business. When you just have production without marketing, sales, and profit, it's a hobby. So when you just have production without marketing, sales, and profit, it's a hobby. But when you add those things to something you're creating, you have a business, which can also be perceived as a creative process because it's a constant growth and learning. So I love a quote by Dr. Michael Beckwith. He said, "And when I began to see my business as an offering to the world, my vision pulled me into a new mindset. I was able to creatively reframe the components of business in ways that I felt more aligned with. For example, money became a tool to create freedom and expression. Marketing became visibility and education. And sales became service and connection." So this was a big reframe for me because I took the things that I'd known about money and I made it into something and perception of something that really resonated for me because I love freedom and I love expression. And so that money as a tool for those things was really helpful for me. And then marketing became visibility and education. Having been a teacher for so long, I'm a natural teacher as well. So like for me, education and seeing marketing as education was huge. And just visibility, which isn't always simple, but it isn't always easy, but it is simple. And then sales is about service and connection. So not trying to convince somebody of something, but really offering basically telling somebody what it is and understanding from their point of view, if they're interested, what they want, why they want it, how it will serve them, and if it's a fit. So basically it's also about the relationship there, not just like the idea of that sales call that's obnoxious that you get, that somebody's trying to push something on you. So this to growing. I've been a coach since 2003. I've had countless coaches and trainings and all kinds. I'm a Best Year Yet certified coach. I've been a Martha Beck certified coach since 2003. But the Best Year Yet piece was a big thing for me because it's about having goals in a linear process to get there, which wasn't always something wasn't my strong suit. So that really cool transformational linear process was really awesome for me to step into to claim business at the next level. And I always surround myself with people who are creating the dreams and a community of support. And so I've been teaching for the past few years. And I really love bringing this work of art and craft. And I feel called to do something from their hearts and from their creativity. Will do amazing things with money, and I want to support that. So I'm going to start by doing a visualization with you all. So I want to give you all a sense of not just like, a bunch of stuff I'm throwing at you, but like experience. So a lot of this workshop is going to be experiential and you're going to have your own process with it. So, all right. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing I forgot to mention here, which is that, you know, this process of stepping outside my comfort zone led me to embracing things I didn't think I could, including a lot of aspects of business and financial planning and money. And I'm also a spreadsheet junkie now, so that's kind of a miracle to me, considered where I used to be, where I barely did any bookkeeping until the last minute. So for me now, I use spreadsheets and as a visioning tool and for stress relief. I know it's crazy. Um, so yeah, so that's where I'm coming from now. It's a totally different place. Okay, so all right, so let's look at so we're going to go through a bunch of mindset stuff and some deeper kinds of work, and then we're going to go into like the money stuff. So just to give you a sense of where that's going to be, where we're going here. So get comfortable wherever you're sitting. And if you're driving, don't go for wherever you are, and sit in a place where you're comfortable. You're not holding on to anything. Just let your body relax for a minute. And if you need to close a door to have more privacy, to a relaxed state. Visualization gets a lot of good feedback. And it's not uncommon for coaches to do a future self visualization. This one's really unique to people with a vision for a business. So let yourself just put your analytical mind aside here and trust the process. Let your imagination take over in this, and you'll get the most benefit out of it from doing that. Okay, so settling into your chair, allowing yourself to relax. Let your shoulders relax. And take 2 deep breaths. Now imagine that you're going on a journey to visit yourself in the future, your future self. You're walking along a grassy path on a sunny day. You hear yourself walking, and you look up and you see a mountain ahead of you. As you continue walking toward the mountain, you notice the sound of birds, a slight breeze. And as you get closer, you see a large rock at the base of the mountain. As you approach, you see someone sitting on the rock. This person is you 5 years, or actually, let's not say time. This person is you in the future. This version of you has already climbed the mountain behind him or her and is relaxing. As you approach, they motion for you to join them. As you climb the rock to join your future self, just taking it all in, you arrive at the rock at the top and you see yourself in the future, noticing how you're different in the future, how the energy is different, what you're wearing in the future. This future self, this version of you, has all his or her wants and needs met. And they have accomplished their goals. They've had all the support they needed, and they're living a prosperous life, giving great value to the world, and with the freedom to live life on their terms. So now you're going to ask this future self, what wisdom they have to share with you. So just ask what they have to share with you and see what they have to offer. And ask your future self, ask, what do you believe about yourself? And ask if there's anything else that they want you to know. And ask them for a symbol to remember this experience. And take the symbol in your hand or in your heart, depending on what it is. Put it in your pocket, whatever works for you, but receive that. And then knowing that you can return to your future self at any time. And head back down the rock. Toward the path. As you breathe, is a path that your future self, your vision, has already forged for you, that you can come back to at any time. Again, feel yourself sitting in your chair. Let your shoulders relax. Feel your feet resting, and slowly open your eyes. So go ahead and write some notes about this experience. So go ahead and write a few sentences about what you saw, what you experienced, what you felt, how your future self is different from you. And then go ahead and share in the chat the biggest what was different about your future self, or what was the feeling, what was the symbol. What did you take away from the experience? So go ahead and share in the chat when you're ready. Any of those answers. Self-assured. Beautiful. What else? That question, what do you believe about yourself, came from the last workshop I taught, because it was a, you know, that's what people got out of it. Like, what do they believe about themselves? And they started feeling and tuning into this feeling of like being more self-assured. I am enough, just like Ellen's saying. So confident. So Carol says confident, feel a sense of joy and freedom. So she said, never to lose the joy in what you do and the wonder in the process, never to get complacent. Beautiful. Thank you. And Jen says, trust and comfort in her intuition and decisions. Yeah. Yeah. So that's self-trust, confidence, feeling enough. And Paul says, be patient and stay the course. And he's been on in this path for a long time, making jewelry. I think it was one of the past decades. So yes, be patient, stay the course. Keep showing up. Right. Exactly. So Kate says her future self is relaxed, confident, not worried, living each day with doing what she loves, is thriving as a person and an artist. Nisa says her future self is more energetic and unafraid, more forward thinking. Beautiful. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you all. That's great. Very helpful. So anybody have a symbol? Did you have a symbol that your future self gave you, or from the actual visualization, that can help you sort of anchor this in? So last time somebody said that the rock was actually their symbol. That rock that their future self was resting on was like a bedrock for them of like that solidness. Some people take the mountain away as a symbol for like that vision, and some people the path. And then some people have all kinds of other symbols that they receive that are meaningful to them. So what is something that you can take away as a symbol? And I encourage you to do something with that symbol, to make a piece of jewelry with it on your computer screen or your bathroom mirror, like something to just help you tune into this. And this is why, because this quote right here, I love. So you can't get to your dream, you must come from it. So this idea that what we just did was help you tune into your dream so that you can come from it. Not just trying to get there and like chasing it, but really being it and living it and tuning into this future self who's unafraid. Okay. So Carol's symbol is a triangle with a line from the lower corner on the opposite side, crossing over the top of the mountain that she brought down to me. Oh, I love that. That's great. He said a key. Great opportunity. Beautiful. So do something with this symbol, like take it and create something. Okay, and so Jen said a heavy silver mountain amulet. Beautiful. Awesome. So take these symbols and create something to remind you of this, and like you're coming from your dream, not trying to get to it. So that's really powerful. Great. Okay. Thank you. Beautiful job. Thank you for participating in that and dancing with that. And you can come back to this visualization and this meditation at any time. And you'll all get a recording of this, so you can, just do it as many times as you want. Okay. So now we're going to look at what's in the way between here and the top of the mountain for each of us. So sometimes this shows up as something that you're not doing yet. So something that you want to do, that you would love to do. So what is something that you want to do? And sometimes it may not be something that you, maybe something that you feel like you need to do. So what is it that you would really love to do, need to do, want to do, but you haven't done it yet? And so it could be something you've been putting off, procrastinating, and actions you want to take that you haven't done yet that might be draining your energy in some way or holding you back or sabotaging. Not reaching out to stores or galleries, not hiring, not learning certain things that you need to learn about your business, not getting support in an area that you need it. And then, so these are actions you want to take that you need to make the next level of your business happen. So think about this for just a second. So it could be, I really love to reach out to more galleries, but then we're going to unpack this and like, what is the belief underneath that in action? So what is the belief underneath that? So what does it look like to like say, okay, what's underneath this? To go a little bit deeper with this thing that you're procrastinating on. And if you want to share, please put it in the chat if you have an example of something, like what the underneath belief is actually. Yeah, so Ellen said 5 more places to sell. Okay, great. So it could be I'm not sure of my market. It could be I've already tried, didn't work. So there's all kinds of things could be on top or underneath this idea and the thing that we're procrastinating. And a lot of times the thing that's there shows up in other places of our life as well. There's like a thread of it. And a lot of times for people, it's lack of self-worth, lack of self-confidence, fear of some kind. There's so many different things it can be. Let's see here. So it can be a pattern sometimes. Okay, so hiring outsourcing. So those are all steps that are not, they're all growth oriented steps, right? So, but make a lot of things different. Great. Okay. All right. So, so then what's the payoff? So what is the payoff for, so this thing that's underneath it, right? So the thing that's underneath the fear or fear of success, fear of failure, fear of working too much. So what is that habit or pattern giving you? So it could be, so basically what benefit do you experience by maintaining this habit or pattern? So some examples are playing small, avoiding failure, feeding the story of unworthiness, addiction to disappointment. So kind of like the brain, you know, I'm big into brain science and neurobiology. And so, you know, we have different pathways in our mind and our brain with our emotions. And sometimes the same thing. And we don't. So also a payoff could be, you know, just having free time, you know, like for me last year, about this time, I was in a big workshop, leadership program in California, and I learned a lot about my comfort zone because I realized I was playing at 80%. And so I realized that I wasn't doing this work. I wasn't teaching these workshops because I was wanting to chill out and, you know, not have to do as much as it takes to actually show up and do workshops and train, you know, do all these trainings. And so, but I was holding back on my vision. I wasn't doing what I really wanted to do and I felt called to do in addition to my jewelry business because I was playing it safe. I was in my comfort zone, watching more TV and stuff like that, you know? So Carol said she'd like to put herself out there by marketing. but I haven't felt like my work is good enough, that needs improvement. So self-confidence, yeah, self-confidence is a big issue. And also finding ways to create confidence by putting your work out there, because that's how you create it. All right, I would love to do a better job saying no to everyone who needs a piece of me. Okay, so Kate, it's about our boundaries for her. And then Donna, learning CAD. So, okay, great. So like the feeling like you have to learn CAD, you have to be away from the bench. Yeah, and so that long-term investment in doing the 3D thing with CAD and the printer and all those things, right? Okay, I hear you. Always like I need to learn more. Yeah. Okay. So, so basically, some of these are like the idea, like I'm not ready yet, I'm not enough, and so, if I'm not sure if anybody hears my TED Talk, but in my TED Talk, I talk about education. I used to be a teacher, and the idea that in school, we have this constant thing of like getting it right. And if you don't get it right, you get it wrong and you fail. And there's not like in entrepreneurship, you're constantly learning all the time and experimenting and trying things out. And so there's not a right or wrong, it's just about experimentation constantly and following our gut and, learning from mentors and getting support for all the different areas that we're stretching into. So basically the payoff. So what is the payoff? So here's some examples, as I mentioned, like playing small, avoiding failure, addiction to disappointment. Okay, I'll add another one to this, which is being stuck in indecision. Like indecision is a payoff because it's also a neuro pathway thing. It's just like, oh, I don't know. So telling ourselves we don't know. There's a lot of different ways we can do this. Like receiving from the thing, what are the benefits basically of not doing what we say we want to do? Okay, so this is our comfort zone area here. So this idea that we are in our comfort zone and we have familiarity, security, certainty, and then we step into the fear zone and we have excuses, we lack self-confidence, we're paralyzed by people's perceptions, and we're afraid of failure. This is true for everyone. This is not a thing that only you feel. This is totally normal, that when you step into that zone, outside the comfort zone, it's fear. It's terrifying. And it's risk, So then when you get through the fear zone, you can increase knowledge, develop confidence, enhance motivation, and acquire the skills that you need. And then into the growth zone, where you discover your purpose more fully, you have next level goals, your creativity enhances, you live your dreams, you gain fulfillment. So I love this, where the magic happens is right here. So this is something that is totally normal. Like basically the fear never goes away for anybody. You just like take it along for the ride. If you've been exposed to Elizabeth Gilbert's work and Big Magic, she talks about fear being in the back seat, not the front seat, not driving for sure, but it's always there. So it never goes away. And every time we step outside our comfort zone, we feel these things. So we always hear the voices that say it's dangerous to grow, to change, to do something different. And we have a lizard brain. Here is the lizard. Can you see this little lizard? It's kind of an alligator. It's like a crocheted thing. And basically we always have this voice on our shoulder. It's our primal brain. It's our limbic system. And it's basically saying, you're in danger, there's not enough. And this voice never goes away. And I work with clients with a ton of money, like they're trying to decide between buying an NBA team and a jet, and they still have scarcity. So this idea that voice will go away is not true. It's a myth. So this voice of the lizard brain will always be there. You just got to figure out how to deal with it. So one way to deal with it is to feed it a grape and say thank you for sharing. To not let it take over and be driving the car, basically. You get to drive the car. So there's a metaphor that one of my mentors, Martha Beck, shares, that's the bully on the bus. I'm going to tell you about this. So basically, it's like you're driving a bus, and your comfort zone is turning left. You've always turned left this one turn when you're driving the bus. You always turn left. And you decide you're going to turn right because the turning right is towards your vision. And as you're about to turn right, you see in the rearview mirror on the bus, there's a bunch of big bullies, huge, gnarly dudes who are going to come up and kick your butt. And so it feels like those voices are like, you're going to die, you're in danger. And as you get closer and closer, but you still turn right, the bullies get off the bus. They get closer and closer for a while, and it feels like they're going to kill you. And then they get off the bus. Because those voices are so important for survival because they're what keep us safe, right? So that's something that is really helpful to know, that it's normal to hear like these voices in your head that it's like it's danger, it's unsafe, because you're doing something that's uncomfortable for you outside your comfort zone. And that also ties in with imposter syndrome. Like 75 or 70% of people, and I think probably even more, say they have imposter syndrome, where they don't believe that they're good enough, ready yet, if they're the right ones, if they feel like they're an imposter in this thing, So that's totally normal as well. And only you can give yourself permission to step into the next level of whatever it is you're doing, because nobody else needs to give you permission, So you get to decide and step into that fully. And then the last one is compare and despair. So we don't always hear people's experiences of their process around feeling like an imposter, feeling fear of failure and success, because we see the outcome of things, we have Hollywood and the happily ever after thing, social media, where you just see the last outcome. You don't see the process and how many people it took to make things happen. So the compare and despair piece is just like letting yourself, don't compare and despair. Let yourself be where you're at. Give yourself permission to step into the next thing. Okay. Right. So the things that are holding us back, they show up in a lot of ways: mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in our relationships, our finances, and with our vision. So, so notice for yourself, like what are the costs? When I mentioned I was my vision wasn't happening. Just wasn't happening. I had sort of like angst underneath stuff, and so that affected everything. It also affected my income. It affected everything to certain. So notice what that is in the biggest area that is impacting for you, and where it's impacting you. Oh, I'm not sure what just happened. Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Jen. The screen sharing stopped. Are you there?
Check what just happened. So yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you now.
Okay.
If you want to turn off your video, that might save some bandwidth and it might give us a better connection.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, let's try that. Okay, so here we have the mindset dance. And basically, our culture comes from a place of scarcity. The actual definition of economics includes the word scarcity. So you have to have the concept of scarcity in order to have like the modern day definition of economics. And so, but the earth doesn't work in scarcity. The earth is an abundant place. So, there's, I mean, you wouldn't know that from the squirrels that are eating from my bird feeder, but in general, there's an abundance, mentality there. So, so scarcity is coming from not enough, resistance, procrastination, comfort zone, and fear pushing. And then prosperity is coming from enough, surrender, intentional surrender, and as opposed to resistance. So that means like, and let me go back to enough actually. So enough is, there's a quote by Lynn Twist, who wrote The Soul of Money. And she talks about how you can't get to prosperity through wanting more. It's about having enough. So it's really being where you're at, which ties into surrender. So starting where you are, letting it be enough, and being grateful for what you have. Because the truth is that, if you're on this call right now, you're among the richest people in the world. If you go to, there's a wealth website where you can go and type in how much money you make, and it shows like the percentage you are in the world, and it's like, it's high, I promise. So it's all perspective, really. So enough, surrender, and then instead of procrastination, taking intentional action, and instead of comfort zone, acting from vision. So taking intentional action from your vision. And I want to read a quote about procrastination and resistance by Lee Harris. It says, procrastination and resistance is a personality sorry, can't read my writing. Personality of our emotions developed to protect themselves and us from perceived threat. So procrastination and resistance is a part of our personality that has developed to protect ourselves from perceived threat. And there's something that we're trying to have a breakthrough with, that you're trying to protect yourself from. So a lot of times it means just diving in, it's just diving into whatever it is. And then the quote I said before, like fear pushes until vision pulls, the Michael Beckwith quote, and just allowing your vision to guide you and lead you, instead of coming from fear and what you don't want to have happen. All right, so here are some common limiting beliefs about money. And there are so many. In my Money Bootcamp program, I cover a lot. It's a 6-week program, so there's a lot there. This is a little snippet of that. And so one is that rich people are greedy. And so if I make a lot of money, I will be too. So this is an assumption that is judging money and judging yourself if you had more money. And then people would judge me if I had a lot of money. I will lose some important people in my life if I'm more successful than them. And so that feels like a threat as well. And that's part of our middle brain here, the mammalian brain, that needs to feel connected in like tribal kind of sense. And so this is a lot of deep stuff. Another one is that I'll be overburdened by work or responsibility if I make a lot of money. So the idea that more money means more work. And honestly, sometimes it might mean that, but it doesn't always mean that. And it also, so that's a limiting belief for sure. And another one is I can't make enough doing what I want to do or what I really want to do. And someday, this is a huge one, magic, basically. There's going to be something that happens that's going to save me from myself. That's going to make everything the way I want it to be. And then another one is like your own unique one in your mind that's attaching to a past experience you've had about money. So say that you had money and you lost it. I had one person I talked to who's one of their parents made a ton of money, like millions of dollars, and then they would lose it and they would make it again and lose it again. So like, even though there's a lot of money involved, it was still like this scarcity mindset because like the threat of actually losing it. It could be that you've had past experiences where you don't trust yourself with money. And then there's tons of cultural stuff that comes about money, about being a business, about being a creative. about, you know, making money as a self-employed. Like there's so many there. So you can unpack a lot of those. So money is a relationship. So as a relationship, think about your relationship with money and how much time you spend with it, and how well you know it, how clear you are about your money, and how you feel about it. Really, you know, is there in relationships, in any relationship, we don't always plan for long term, but do you have long term plans with money? And then money is about what you do with it. So, you know, just like a hammer, you can build something amazing and beautiful, or make something beautiful with a hammer, or you can injure someone. And money is a tool. You can do amazing things with it and help people like immensely, save their lives literally, or you can hurt somebody with it and throw them under the bus and help them create suffering in their lives. So it's a tool. These simple perceptions can really shift the mindset around like what money is and what it isn't, and taking your power back. So this is my, so basically there's a question without a question mark on it. Sorry about that. Is it possible that everything in your vision is being constricted by unconscious money beliefs because they impact your capacity to create and receive your vision fully? So basically what I'm suggesting here is that for a lot of people, money is the cog in the wheel that's keeping us from going to the next level. So our capacity to create and be hacking everything, it can impact how you're showing up. And because if you're coming from prosperity and you're selling versus coming from scarcity or fear or whatever, then you're putting that energy out without even knowing it. So what do we do? So the big question here is, do you want your vision more than you want comfort? And if so, what do you need to make it happen? What are you willing to do to step into your vision more than your comfort zone? And that could be different for each of you, you know? It might mean dealing with limiting beliefs around money, having money dates with your money and changing that relationship. It might mean reading some books about money. It might mean getting support in different areas. It can mean a lot of different things. Only you can decide that. Oh, here we go. And then here's a great quote that says, eventually you get to the place in life where you're moving toward what you want faster than you are moving away from what you fear. Okay, so here's where the rubber hits the road. So what are the prices you're willing to pay for your vision? In what ways are you willing to step outside of your comfort zone? And what kind of structure, support, habits, learning, perspective, or focus do you need to make your vision happen? So what's not been working and what do you need instead? So I'm going to ask you to commit to one action step this week that will get you out of your comfort zone. And so I'm going to clarify that this action step is not something that you were going to do anyway. This action step would not have happened if you hadn't heard this question on this workshop out of my mouth. So I want you to stretch yourself outside your comfort zone into your vision. And what is one action step? And this doesn't have to be like contact 500 galleries. It can just, like one time in a workshop, a woman said, she was an older lady and she said, I'm going to create an Instagram account and start posting on it. So it was a big learning curve for her. And it was a big step for her that she's been meaning to do for a while. So she was going to make it happen that week. And so what is the thing for you that you are willing to do to step outside your comfort zone and take action this week? And I want you to put it into the chat. So So you're publicly saying what it is you're going to do this week that's going to put you outside your comfort zone. And so in a week means by this time next week, by next Saturday. So that's the time frame here. So something you can do this week that is going to step you into your vision more and outside your comfort zone. So what is that thing? Okay, great. So Cynthia says set up a new online store. That seems ambitious. Okay, go for it. Great. What else? What else you got? What are your other action steps that you're going to do? So find another sale opportunity from Ellen. Great. Great. So what does that mean? So find. So does that mean reach out to how many or contact them until you find one? I just want to clarify that action step. So I would just say, because, you know, does that mean contact 5? Does that mean contact people until you find one? Just clarifying what that is for you. Great. Anybody else? What you got? Finish a big piece I've been working on and post a picture on Instagram. Great. Okay, so completing that piece and then posting it on Instagram. Great. I love it. Get up at 7 every weekday to increase my working time. Okay, that's a big one. So every day, okay? If that's feasible for you, do it. And if it's not, you could decrease, like go to bed, get up earlier a little bit every day this week instead of like every day at 7, or get some kind of support around that accountability. I'm not a morning person, so I'm just projecting on you that that's hard. But find a way to make yourself do it, whatever you need to make that happen. And maybe it's easier than I think. So yeah, great. Beautiful. Tell the people around me the direction I'm going to head in business. Okay, so just declaring, sounds like maybe a new direction for you, Paul. So just declaring that. Beautiful. Okay, awesome. I love it. Thank you all. All right, so, all right, so I think I just went too far here. Hang on a second. All right. Okay, so Jen said add sellable items to the website and Instagram. Great, post on. So, but to there's a quote that says that every action you take is a vote for who you're becoming. So that's a really helpful quote. And then Joe Dispenza, who's big into brain science, says that if your brain is the record of the past, and if you don't have a vision of the future, you're living in the past and you'll never arrive at that new future, because we're always in the past and from that programming. So it's constantly tuning into our vision, putting energy into it, and taking action toward it. And we're creating new neural pathways toward that and who we're becoming in that as we act differently. We're evolving ourselves and our life and our business and our income. And so you have to make your vision more important than your habits and emotional addictions or payoffs in order to create change and evolve your life. I know it's not easy, but that's what it is. And part of that can be support. So really connecting with people who can speak frankly about your money, your challenges, and your goals, and surrounding yourself with people who've been there, done that. It can guide you and support you in the process, and don't hold any limitations for you. And people will encourage you to go for your dreams and not rain on your parade. It's a big one. And you know, your income is also the average of the 5 people you spend most time with. So connecting with people who are ahead of you is a good way to also evolve your income. I'm going to send you all of this. This is a I'm getting emails from SNAG. I'm going to send you all this money manifesto. And it's something you can print out and put up to actually see these different beliefs that you can tap into and action steps to create the next level financially. And And this is a great quote by Marie Forleo. It says, the faster you leave your comfort zone, the faster you'll see growth. So very helpful. Simple, right? Okay. So let's take a 5-minute break just so everybody can get their needs met. And we'll be back at 1:15, sorry, yeah, 1:15 at Eastern time, so the quarter after, and we'll see each other in a minute. So take a break, and we'll see you in just 5 minutes, and we'll be back. And think about any questions you have, or any challenges you have, or any major shares you want to bring to the group. So so back at 1:15. All right, so we're back. Okay, great. So Alejandra, I'd like to let people speak. What's the best way to do that?
I need to do them individually. So if
Okay.
they can put in the chat, whoever wants to speak, like, for example, Ellen wants to speak, and I'll go in her and change that setting.
Okay, great. So who has a question? Let us know in the chat, and Alejandra will unmute you. And if you just want to share your takeaways, like what stood out the most to you, that'd be great too. Anything that you feel like was the biggest thing you got so far from the workshop? I'm always curious to hear. I've never spoken to jewelers, but that stands out the most. Anybody want to share?
So Carrie, I'm gonna unmute you.
Great. Hi, Carrie.
Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay. So, okay, so my question is, about the money specifically. Yeah. And so the thing that really is interesting to me, like reading about how artists have a different approach to money than, say, like people who would just be in the business world alone, is that like there's a tension between making things that we really love to make and things that'll sell. So Jennifer said, I'm going to finish this big piece and put it on Instagram, but Jennifer might just love that big piece, but that's not the kind of thing that's going to sell. And so I find that one of the things for me that's tricky thinking about money is that, I don't want it to just fall into focusing on the money aspect of it over the creative aspect of it. And I wonder if you have specific advice about that.
It's a great question and topic. This topic never gets old. So there's a lot of ways to look at this. So basically, when you have a business, it's about so when you have a hobby or you're just an artist, you can have production. You're making something, right? And to have it as a business, have marketing, sales, and production. So by step, and so you can actually separate in a way what it is you want to do to like what your passion is, what you want to create. And okay, so sometimes what happens is you make something, it's amazing, you love it, and people love it. And sometimes you make something and you love it and people don't love it, or they don't buy it, or you have to charge so much for that thing that it's not saleable because the markup is too high because of labor or materials or whatever. But the fact is that you can't, that's not a business idea. That's not a business tool then, not a business thing. Because I was at this workshop years ago with a couple of jewelers, really successful. And somebody said, and this is when I was first starting, and I remember this like so clearly. And somebody was like, well, I have this one pair of earrings that I make that people love and they always buy them, but they won't pay what I actually need to charge for them to make it profitable. And the person said, you can't sell them then. It's not a good business decision, because you're wearing different hats here. You're wearing the hat of the artist, the person who's expressing, who's creative, who, that's one hat. And then there's the hat of the business person. And, some successful artists that I've talked to actually see these as two different sort of like, two different roles, and they have to separate them out. And if you can't make money on something that you love, then it's not part of your business. You can still do it. It's just not something that's going to make a profit. So as hard as that may be to hear, that's the truth, because when you have a business, it's not just about you and your expression and what your heart says only. It's also about making a profit. And so if, I know people who make stuff and give it away, and they can make whatever they want, but to make a profit, it needs to be about the demand. And this is the thing though. I know people who only sell, I know a painter who only sells originals. And that's what she does. That's what she wants to do. That's what she does. And she can, and so it's like, sometimes it's like getting yourself to the level of, making so for example, I'll use pottery, for example, making the mugs until you can get to the point where you don't have to make the mugs anymore and you can just make sculptural pieces, and so there's like a rite of passage level too there, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes. So what do you think about that answer, Carrie?
Fair. Yeah, and that's totally like a reality of it. But I also loved your idea, and maybe you could even, sorry, I don't want to hog the questions, but say a little bit more about it. Because at the beginning, like so I've read business books and I find them, excruciating. But I wonder, like, I really love that idea of using creative things to think about business in a different way. And I wonder, I mean, obviously, being profitable is part of that, but I wonder if there are ways, I mean, at least that's, kind of what I try to do, when it's like how to, like, we actually think about these things in different ways of making money might not be traditional.
Exactly. So basically, as a creative, one of your strengths is to think outside the box. And so, I think a lot of times people, when they step into business, they're trying to fit into business, and they're trying to fit into whatever it is that they think will work, right? And so that is, first of all, it doesn't necessarily work, right? Because you're not expressing yourself authentically. And so people want really creative things, they want innovative things, and you really have to have that to stand out. Like, you can just make cookie cutter kinds of pieces of jewelry that people will buy, that people will like, but what kind of satisfaction is that? Like, what is your version of your bread and butter piece of jewelry? The experimentation, there's not a right way to do it. It's constantly looking at, like, what is, how can you create more value for others, and how can you express yourself? I get down with them, I get inspired for somebody else, and sometimes I like them, sometimes I don't. I would never wear them because they're heavy or whatever, but it's about like that pull to like create something that's outside yourself, and even creating ways of business, like in creating structures for yourself that work for you, that are outside what you thought before, or ways to generate income that are outside of what you thought before. Yeah. The honor as a part of the creative process is that so Carrie, I'm curious about like, if there's something for you in your business that you've been wanting to do, but it just seems too outrageous, or it just seems like, no, I can't do that. Is there something there that you've been wanting to do, experiment with, that you haven't done?
Not, no, not specifically. I just, yeah, I mean, my biggest issue is just, I mean, all the stuff you said, right? Just a resistance for taking money. I feel like, yeah, I mean, that's just all, but those are all just things I have to work on. Yeah, I literally, I give
Let's talk
tons of
about
stuff
that.
away. I hate taking money. I don't, yeah.
Okay. We just hit the real question here. Okay, great. So how can you stretch your capacity to receive money? Okay, already on this call. So there's a lot of, it's really vulnerable to give than receive. And the thing is that you can't have a giver without a receiver. So they're actually part of the same thing. So the idea of not receiving, because like if I buy myself something, I want to use my money to buy myself the thing that I want. Like you'll see here, everything I have around me is all handmade, like, you know, custom stuff that I love, and I love to give it to myself, and I love to have that. And if somebody gives it to me, it's not the same as if I get to buy it for myself. I get to spend my resources along with my values to create something, or to have something that I want. So I would say that you're doing people a disservice, and it's because like the idea is that it's selfish to receive, but I would say it's more selfish to not receive, because you're doing people a disservice, because you are creating value in the world and people want your work. And so have you sold some of your work?
Very little, yeah.
Not sure what phase you're in. I can't remember. Okay.
Oh, pretty new in the
Selling.
business part of things, yeah.
Say again.
I'm pretty new in the business part of things, yeah.
Okay. So tell me a time you bought something for yourself, or a gift for someone that was really meaningful to you that you felt really good about.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, I buy things, you know, I mean, my whole life, right, I bought jewelry that I've loved, and I treasure it. And yes,
Tell me about one piece.
Okay, so a Kobe Bosshart piece that I bought. He's a jeweler in New Zealand who's just fantastic.
Okay, great. And how much did you spend on the piece?
Oh, it was probably $800, $900 Canadian.
Okay,
So
great.
at the time, that was about on par.
Okay, great. And how do you feel with that piece today?
Oh, I love it. I love it.
And how long ago did you buy it?
About 5 years, 6 years.
So 5 years and ongoing, you have this piece that you gave to yourself. You feel that?
Yeah.
Now imagine somebody else coming up to your booth at a show or ordering it online and finding a piece they love so much. They're going to spend whatever it takes to get that piece for themselves, and they're going to treasure it for years and years to come. And if you're not selling it, you're not putting it out there, they don't have the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
How does that feel?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Because you're, you know, I talk about all the time, like how it's like people think it's selfish to receive, but it's actually selfish not to put yourself out there and to receive, because people they want to buy it. They want your work. If you're creating work from your heart and your vision, and then there's a reason for that, you know? And so you getting it out there and you receiving from it and you valuing it enough so that, you know, and then pricing it high enough so that you can keep making it. Because if you don't price it the price that it's worth, you're doing your colleagues a disservice, first of all. And then you're also doing yourself a disservice and ultimately others, because if you don't price it at the price where you can actually make money, then you can't sustain yourself and you won't last, and you're gonna burn out.
Okay, thank you.
You're not getting what you need. So Carrie, are you good?
Yes, okay. I am. Thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Thank you. All right, who else has a question or a comment on some part of the thing? Okay, great. None of y'all is really on listening, visualizing the things that are in our way and identifying. Okay, great. So Nisa said that she felt like thinking about the things that are in our way and identifying those, and the ways we needed to step out of our comfort zone to be really helpful, useful. Good. Good, I'm glad. Yeah, it's really good just to kind of step back at what, looking at what, obstacles identified, easier to do. Yeah, when you see what's in the way, it's easier to deal with. You're facing it. Yeah, it's great, huge. And there's a difference between working on your business and working in it. And when you're at the bench or you're at your computer doing stuff, you're working in it. But this kind of workshop is working on it. And this is where like the bigger picture, the ego perspective can really guide you and make you have like things you can leverage instead of just like the gopher who's just down there doing the stuff, It's good to come out and look at working on your business from a different perspective. Yeah, or something that you're having a hard time accepting, or a belief that you have about how it's hard to make money as a business owner or creative or jewelry or any of those kinds of things, please bring it, because those are all things that are really common, and I would love to support someone and yourself, of course. So this is an opportunity for some free coaching. So who wants some? Who wants to like dive in and look at limiting belief, or even like really hone in on how you can access your future self more, or your vision, like anything like that? I'd love to talk about that. Another one is like any advice, resources for improving time management skills. So that's really about vision again. So, I heard a quote one time that said, discipline is, hang on a second, it's in my little sheet here. I'm gonna get it right. Discipline is remembering what you really want. So I love that, because I don't like the word discipline necessarily. It's not something I'm happy with, but like, it's really about remembering what you want. So, and I really think that, I believe that I always have coaches and support and accountability partners, stuff like that. So I can putting on my two things to the future, but I always keep moving things. So yeah, I think that honestly, I believe having a coach and or accountability partner where you're meeting, you're talking, and you're figuring out, what you're doing, why you're doing it, and also having a long-term goals. Like, the best in my practice as well is about up into quarters and months and weeks and days, so that you're actually doing the thing you're going to do, as opposed to just having a vague sense of what it's more strategy broken down. So everything that you're doing is going toward the goal that you want to achieve, or goals that you want to achieve. Yeah. All right, I'm looking at some questions here. So Ellen is talking about pricing. Okay, good. So I have trouble with pricing when starting out. We feel like it takes longer to make something and often underprice it. Yeah, and I think it's like, you know, when you start out, it takes you longer. I mean, okay, this is the way I look at pricing. Okay, I actually had this prepared in case this came up, actually. Okay, so give me 1 second. I'm going to screen share again because I want to share. I'm going to share a pricing sheet that if you haven't seen this kind of pricing thing before, which many of you probably have, you need to know this. So, okay, I'm going to. Okie dokie. So, wait, wrong thing. So this is some content from my Money Bootcamp program. And this is one of the 6 modules and formula. So materials plus labor plus overhead plus profit equals your wholesale price. So basically, you want to look at labor as if you had to hire someone else to do it, what would you have to pay them? And you can think about, like, yeah, when you make the thing the first time, the other person makes the thing the first time, it might take, you know, 2 hours or 5 hours, whatever, but eventually how fast will it be, you know? And so it's hard to tell. And so it's always experimentation, obviously. But that's the way I look at labor, is like, if I had to pay somebody else to make, so then that's your wholesale price. And then the markup off of that is a minimum of 2. And with jewelry, it's 2.3 to 2.5 last time I heard. Sometimes it can be more, I believe, depending on the market. So that's, you know, a good sort of like baseline. Other considerations are perceived value, market value. So perceived value is what people think it's worth. So if you have like leather versus gold, for example, or even like it looks like gold or gold fill, market value, what is the market, where does the market value it, you know? And so that depends on the market you're in, obviously, and then who your market is, who you're marketing to. And, you know, obviously what people will pay, which is also an experiment. I had a mentor one time that said, the maximum price you can charge is the maximum price people will pay. So that's really a big thing. Also, what's your overhead? So if you're in a really nice gallery where you have a lot of overhead, you may have to charge more. And then there's a whole thing about being consistent with your pricing too, which is a whole nother conversation. Is the piece one of a kind? Because if it's one of a kind, and I mean one of a kind, not like there's a bunch like this that are like one of a kind, whatever. I mean, like one piece, there's one in the world and that's it. Those kinds of pieces, that's more valuable because it did take you longer to make it. You're not making it again. And, you know, the same with custom too, because it's also a collaboration process. Yeah. And then for a service, and think about if you're teaching, for example, how much do you need to make and how many hours you actually with clients? So that's a touch more for a service business, but I have clients who also just do services. So that's something that is good to think about. And I hope that's helpful. Yeah, I'm glad that, okay, good. Getting good feedback on that. Okay, so let's see here. And also for my jewelry business, and I realized that this one chain that I had cost more than I realized when I was pricing the retail value for the wholesale. And but I was like, okay, well, I made up for it here and here, you know, because this market was more. So it also, you just got to experiment if you're doing all of it. So it wasn't a big price difference, luckily for me. Okay. Yeah, so Jen is saying that dedicating time to make while teaching and care about both. Yeah, it's a lot to do both. You know, you can compartmentalize more and schedule in a way that makes it more feasible for you. Um, so it's not so overwhelming. And around it too. I guess I would ask, like, what is the mental space you need? You know, like, what is the thing that you need there? Okay, so Nice is asking about the pricing. In that model, it seemed like profit was doubled by including it in the wholesale price. Yes. Is the purpose of doubling to create the profit? No. So if you don't create profit in your wholesale, you can't sell wholesale, because you have to have profit in order to build your business. You have to have profit to buy materials, to pay yourself. You can't just have labor, because if you're paying somebody else labor, you have no profit in wholesale. So you have to have profit built into your wholesale amount. Otherwise, you're not going to profit. Because once you hire other people, well, first of all, you're making $5 on a piece. The business has, okay. All right. So Ellen's asked, is there a set way to come up with a vision? Yeah. There's a lot of different visualizations and tools for visioning. I do a one-day visioning workshop, because I think vision is huge, and to have that as a baseline is everything. So you're welcome to work with me on that. You can also probably find some more tools. You can do some journaling. You know, just see what it is you want, you know. So there's a process I do with people on the phone, which is basically clarifying your vision. So you can also schedule that with me if you want, because it's a powerful process. It goes pretty deep, deeper than most people realize their vision can go, and that's really where the root. And another thing I want to mention is that, okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. So a lot of times people have money beliefs that came from early childhood. So a lot of times in my money boot camp, we actually unpack those money beliefs, and it's really powerful, and it's amazing what comes up for people and how big it has. A money belief or experience you want some support on now, I would love to work with that as well. So feel free to say you want to, you have a question or you want to comment, or even just type it in if you want, that's fine too. Toddler, and floor as a toddler, and her bigger brother and her dad were sitting at the table, and her dad was doing something where he had a $20 bill, and this was like in the 50s, probably 50s or 60s. It was a $20 bill, and the brother was like, the dad was doing some kind of trick with the money, and he said, if you can get it, you can keep it. So the dad did his thing with the money, and the brother tried to grab it, and he missed it. And the girl, my client now, she was like, she got the money. And so she was a toddler, and she got $20, you know, or maybe, you know, I'm not sure how old she was exactly. But to her, like, that meant a lot of stuff. It was like, it meant, you know, that, you know, money's hard to come by. It's hard. Her brother was mad at her too. So there was all kinds of psychological unpacking to do about this moment in time, that money is hard to get. Other people want it. There's competition. People get mad at you when she had another client at one point who felt like, you know, for her to have nights, a big one. There's so many I could tell you. So if you have something like that, I'm glad to support you with that. Yeah, so I want to share a couple of opportunities. So I'm going to put in the chat a couple of links. So one link is to schedule with me if you would like a call. You can schedule with me, and it's a money breakthrough session. So if you want more connection around this, feel free to schedule. And then there's actually on the SNAG website under the basically you can schedule an hour with me, and it's just highly discounted because it's through SNAG, and so you can schedule with me there. At this point, before I click on. Okay, my internet is not clicking, it's not working here. So, oh, here we go. All right, so I'm gonna put a couple links there. And yeah, feel free to schedule with me, connect with me, and learn more about what you're up to, what you're going for. And I'm gonna put a 15-minute call here for you since you've already had a lot of content here. Feel free to schedule this. And let's see here. Opportunities, the resources, opportunities, great. So that's a link we can schedule with me, a paid call for an hour session. If you want to work with me privately, you can click the next link and talk to me about my different programs and coaching if you want. And here's one of my programs as well. It's the Money Bootcamp program. There's two links there. Sorry, they look like they're together there, but there's two different links there. Yeah, so if I can support you further, please let me know. Seems like we're out of questions. But feel free to watch this video. And those questions are questions that I always come back to. Like, you know, where am I holding myself back? Where am I staying in my comfort zone? Where can I step into out of the comfort zone, into my vision more fully? And where am I holding myself back? What is the payoff for that? Like, that whole process is so helpful to have over and over again, to just ask those questions. And yeah, so I encourage you to keep playing with those things, deepening your vision, and continue to develop a relationship with money. And did y'all post you didn't post your action steps, did you? So we have a few minutes left. Go ahead and post your action steps. Like, what is the thing you're going to do in the next week? What is that thing? So some of you have them, and if you haven't posted one, you want to, this is your chance to claim and declare the thing that you're doing. So we have quite a few, and then there's like 16 people on the call, so 14 people besides Alejandra and I. So what is your action step? Declare it, say it. Like, what is it you're going to do in the next week that's going to be stepping outside your comfort zone? It could be having a date with money and sitting down with money and looking at your numbers, looking at how much money you're spending, what you want to generate, setting money goals, and then creating a plan to create those, like some action steps to develop that further. So let me know, and feel free to email me. My email is Jen at JenAly coaching.com. And my TED Talk is also on my website. It's also on YouTube and on the TED website, but I'm going to go ahead and send you a link here. There's a lot more in there about business, because it's called Harness Creativity is Your Greatest Business Asset. So feel free to watch that TED Talk, because it's speaking specifically to creatives and it's more about my story and how I came to where I'm at, and it has sort of different calls to actions than you experienced here. So I'm going to share that link as well.
So Jen, in the meantime that they are thinking or writing out their call to actions, I have one idea to call to action that I will suggest. We have that Rent-A-Pro that you are part of it, and we have scholarships for those. So maybe
Oh,
call to
great.
action is to apply to the scholarship so that they can get that one-on-one consultation with you.
Great. Yeah, absolutely. I would love that. Yeah, so feel free to, there's all kinds of opportunities here to get further support. Yeah, that's great. So what's the, did you put a link for that?
I put the link on, yeah, I put the link. So it's under the Road to Success tab, and all the information is there. Every detail is there. And we also have, you know, those scholarships can also be applied to the craft lab or the other ones like we have today. And all we ask is to submit your application 2 weeks prior to the class date. So there's that one-on-one, or there's classes like we have right now. And a quick plug-in, our next class starts March 4th. That's Forging a Foundation. It's an 8-week course with Gwen, the executive director of SNAG. And I took that course, and it was an eye-opener. I highly recommend it. And then after that, we have a marketing class. It's increasing Instagram engagement with Liz Kantner, and that class starts March 7th. So there's still time to apply for a scholarship for that class.
Great. So they can apply for scholarships for classes or for the one-on-one Road to Success consultants, which I'm one of those. There's a bunch of us, so they have different areas. So there's all kinds of opportunities for support. Great. So Donna's saying that she will declutter and reorganize her studio to improve efficiency and state of mind and waste less time trying to find things. I totally understand that. Yeah, I just had an organizer come into my office at home last week and redid my whole office. I moved everything in my office, so it's a new world. My studio is a different story. That's next. Thank you for the inspiration. Great. All right. Well, thank you all so much. Reach out to me, connect with me. I would love to hear more for your business, and feel free to watch this later. So thank you too. And I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. You're welcome, Carrie. All right, y'all. Take care.
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome. My pleasure. All right. Bye-bye. You're welcome. All right. Bye-bye. Glad, Paul. I'm glad you got info from it. Perfect. All right. You're welcome. All right. Bye-bye.